this is Baruch here back at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we've been working on, and this is the era of Shavuos, since we try to get the idea of what's going on in Shavuos. So we're over here in the Sea of Wisdom, which is really kind of a Kabbalistic, Hasidic set of different kind of ideas, teachings about Shavuos that we're dealing with right now. So he comes back over here and he says, uplifting zair anpin to mercy. And he says the light of Shavuos. What light are we talking about? What is zair anpin? What does it have to do with mercy? Zair anpin is called a partzuf. A partzuf is a system of refining light and making it smaller to an extent that it can be delivered, hopefully, into our dark world. So zair anpin is really the gematria of Ma. What we call Ma is the gematria 45. It's the same gematria as man, and it is a template for the three sides of the human being, which is his right side, left side, and his middle. So therefore we see that zair anpin is like a balance scale. So where anpin, when people are behaving and really getting close to God, then the right side, which is the side of chesed, tends to be the dominant side, and light flows through that way. But when the Jews are off, then the light flows to the left side. The left side is the concept of death. Now, in spiritual world, there is no right. There's no left. But the Ri has made it possible for us to constantly be able to understand this, as we are, in fact, a manifestation of the template of light formation, which is called zair anpin. Now, Hashem created the divine conduct that follows the course of justice. So here he defines zair anpin as the concept of justice. Zair anpin is what we call the middle line. It's the balance line. But this system receives its vitality from a world that is much higher than Bina, higher than Chochmah, higher than Keser. The level of Keser is associated with ayin or bilto. The bilto, that means nothingness or ego nullification. Just as the avoda of learning Torah and Tevilah, the avoda of zair anpin and malchus are part and parcel of the system of obligation, which is justice. Nevertheless, the innermost essence of all avoda is this phrase, Shema Yisrael, that God is one, which means that this is the point of yichud, of making things into one, that making opposites into one. The force of the other side of the Satan, of what we call the Baldover, the other side. He says, the Sitra Achra. The force of that is to separate everything, but the force of good is to combine it all. So he said, this is the point of yichud that must be made through all of our duties. The duties that are performed, and this is accomplished through focusing the mind on revealing godliness in the world. We do this with the avoda of Bina. So Bina is the female aspect of the Rosh of Atzilus, by contemplating reality to discover godliness inherent within it, by thinking about the evolution, because Bina is a concept of understanding. But the understanding means being able to fracture different ideas and be able to see them in their parts, be able to put all of the godliness together. Contemplating reality to discover godliness inherent within it. And he says what he means, what I see that he means in other places, is that the world is full of conflict. The world is, your personal life is always full of, you don't know what's next. In fact, he wants to say that inherent in all of those things, inherent to that, is godliness. The avodas of Chochmah by nullifying the self to Hashem, and the avoda of Kesed by achieving total loss of awareness of self, with absolute self-sacrifice. When a person feels that all of existence is against him and he has no portion in the world or this world or the next, and despite that he is determined and binds himself to Hashem, he approaches the bittul of Keser and he's coming close to the self-nullification, which is the ultimate crown, because it is so close to the non-physicality of the ultimate truth. When he reaches this point, he uplifts zair anpin to ayin above. So he takes zair anpin, which is the balance scale. The Sifra in the the Idras, the Idrazuta, the Idra Rabbah. They refer to zair anpin as the maskala. Maskala means a balance scale, which is the highest form of yichud by elevating that balance scale to the world above it, to its origin. When zair anpin receives from bina, a small yichud is formed. When it receives from chochma, it makes the yichud of Shabbos. And when it receives from keser, it makes the loftiest yichud, which is that of Shavuos. When the concept of balance, concept of justice, of the balance scale, is able to move up to these levels. Let's read it again. When it receives from chochma, it makes the yichud of Shabbos. And it would receive from keser, in other words, a complete level of bittul that takes place. It makes the loftiest yichud, which is that of Shavuos. Whenever a Jew occupies himself with Torah study and mitzvos, he certainly arouses some yichud. Whenever he does that, some yichud is always aroused. But the loftiest yichud of all, of total self-nullification, is really the path of the tzaddikim. This is the path of truly righteous perfect people. See if we get this down right here again. So it is very difficult devoted to do. It's possible sometimes for zair anpin to be uplifted to keser all at once, to jump, so to speak. That is what happens when a more ordinary person suddenly feels utterly broken from his failure to attain his spiritual goals, and feels like he has lost his place in both worlds. At that instant, when he feels like absolutely nothing, that he has done nothing, he has nothing, he is nothing, what happens then is he uplifts zair anpin all the way to keser, because keser is very close to nothing. And everything that he has accomplished becomes infinitely valuable. We are not speaking here of a person who's in a state of depression and despair because his goals and desires haven't been fulfilled. The person described here is someone who really does want to serve Hashem. He wants to be close to Hashem. He wants to be davek to Hashem, which means clinging to Hashem and one with Hashem, but he has fallen short and feels completely at a loss because his genuine yearning for godliness does not seem to have brought him anywhere. The sentiment was echoed by Rav Abahu when he quoted this pasuk, which is a statement in the Torah. This is a sentence from the Torah. And I said, I have toiled in vain. It can seem to the tzaddik that he hasn't accomplished anything, but at the same time he nullifies himself absolutely to Hashem, and in this way he merits to make a yichud between Hashem and His Shechina, which is at the highest level, the level of Shavuos at Matan Torah. Now let me read this again. It can seem to the tzaddik, so that's the tzaddik, the person who is righteous, who is in balance. Balance means that the flow of light is not going in one way versus another, it's coming straight towards us, channeled properly. That he hasn't accomplished anything, but it seems to him like he hasn't done anything. But at the same time, he nullifies himself absolutely to Hashem because he's saying, I can't do it on my own. And in this way, he merits to make a yichud between Hashem and His Shechina, which is at the highest level, the level of Shavuos and Matan Torah. When even an ordinary person reaches this point of self-nullification, disappointment with himself and endless yearning for godliness, he comes into contact with the point of Mashiach, that point of Mashiach which exists within us, that exists within him. He means to say that it exists within human beings. And now, the tzaddik, the person who is trying to be righteous all the time, he makes a yichud here. When tzaddikim speak about it, when they speak about the point of Mashiach within each person, they do not mean the universal Mashiach. That rather they refer to the individual Redeemer. What does that mean? The degree to which a person taps the potential of redemption within himself. So he's saying that the power to be able to connect that resides in the universal Mashiach, which will bring the entire universe into oneness. But each person has that ability within himself as well. When the entire Jewish people awaken to this point within themselves fully, it will certainly trigger the general redemption as well. It would bring the Mashiach. This is the point of Yechida. This is the idea of the ultimate oneness. Yechida within the neshama. And we touch it when we strengthen ourselves and give ourselves chizuk at the moment when we feel most lost. Now, again, just a little bit rereading of this last part. He says, when the entire Jewish people awaken this point, the point of Mashiach, which is in themselves, what is the Mashiach doing? So the Mashiach is coming from the lowest possible place and uniting that lowest possible place with all of the things, all of those energies and spiritual forces of godliness that are beyond the physical place where the person finds himself. It is that power within us. So fully, it will certainly trigger the general redemption as well. Because if this happens within all of us, imagine what happened at Mount Sinai. The Mount Sinai is that we really saw all of that neshama, all of that light within ourselves. The point of Yechida within the neshama. So this is the, Yechida means the highest possible level within what's inside of us. And we touch it when we strengthen ourselves and gives ourselves chizuk at the moment when we feel the most lost. This quality was demonstrated by our king, David HaMelech. When his opponent broke him to pieces, he acted with complete self-sacrifice to begin again. It was specifically when he was humiliated and hounded that he merited to be anointed as Hashem's chosen king, because he kept trying to reach him anyway. Every person can come to this, if he only takes advantage of the opportunity presented by the failures that break him. Now, this is an important idea that he means to say that all of us have different things that happen that tend to break us. And in the breaking itself is the feeling that you can't do it, you need help, you have to turn to the cause of all reality. If from the state of ayin, this leads to this, that the person really feels he can't, he has nothing. He pours his heart out before Hashem, and now he calls out. He will give rise to his own salvation at the very same moment. This is Baruch Fleischman, and we've been listening to the words of Rabbi Yitzchak Myer, he pronounced it Myer, Morgenster.